Hello, the game has started. It's my opponent to go first. I've got a balanced rack, but too many scoring tiles, including the V and the W, so no bingo here, but certainly too good to change. I have Vinu on my rack, and that would get rid of the junk. The C is quite a bingo-y tile, so no problem with retaining that, provided it's the only bingo-y tile, or is accompanied with a K or an H with which it has synergy. So alternatives to Vinu would be Wived, which actually would be better. I think C and N are better rack leave than C and D. C and N have some synergy because of the con prefix. So what if opponent changes? Well, I guess it would be Wived with the W doubled. And opponent does changes all 7 after quite a bit of thinking. So Wived for 32. Gosh, 2 U's, not so good. Rest of the rack, reasonably good. I do have the un prefix and the uni prefix, but I think that second U scuppers a bingo. The E looks the most promising floater. I haven't totally given up on there being a bingo here. But it's not coming to mind. So let me consider the other floaters, not seeing anything with the W. That goes particularly badly with U's. I's a duplicate. V, not seeing anything, and nothing with the D. So how to sort this rack out? It would be nice to get rid of both U's, regardless of the fact that I have an N. A U is a non-bingo-y tile, and it's worth -6 points in terms of calculating a rack leave. So Ulu would get rid of both, but there's nowhere for that. Wive takes an S in front for future reference. I don't have a double-double in column 5. Gosh, I thought for a moment I had uncivil, but I would need 2 I's for that. Close to vincular. So, what about uncurl? Wow, fantastic bingo for opponent. And he has both blanks. And he's provided a ton of floaters when I have a rack which is just too poor to benefit from any. But let me go through the motions of checking. Nothing with the C. 3 U's. Unlikely. Now, how about the S? No, excusal takes an S at the end. All 4 S's to come. Not seeing anything with the A or the L. So, what to do? I think uncurl is good, in which case I have uncurls here for 18 points, and I think I would like to get rid of both U's. So, is there anywhere else for uncurl? Well, there is uncurl and del, but I think taking out this S is useful. I'm going with this. And I draw the Q. So often the case, or so it seems, when you play a U. And opponent is unlikely to block both U's because of the presence of this C, which only features in a solitary 2-letter word, CH. So I have quip in rows C and F. Not seeing a bingo with this rack. I also have peak, which would get the P doubled. It's a bit of a race to get an S, given the excusal hook. Very good chance opponent has one. But he'll then be in a position of whether to burn it if he doesn't have a bingo. Now, what other options do I have for my queue? Well, if I don't use one of these U's, I'm really looking at QI. So I have sank in column 10, chi and die, but there's nowhere great for QI. So is peak my preferred play? That does take 3 hooks, DS and T. But if I play quip, that takes OU and S and provides access to column 15. So I think peak certainly better. And do I have any PHQ plays through a U? Don't think I do. Close to Hennequin. If my P were different. Well, opponent blocks my preferred Q spot, but one does remain. But I'm not going to score very much. However, burning the Q is the priority, and this does interfere with column 15 for putting an S on the end of excusal, but it could also amplify the score if opponent's got an O or U something something S play. This rack leave is not too bad. My H goes well with the C. And overall, this rack goes well with the W. Am I going with this? I think not. I think I'm going to play equip. Although equip takes an E, I am taking out the O and U hooks. And this is a better vowel consonant balance. Plus, I trail and equip opens a bingo lane. I draw the Z. So I have whiz on my rack. Whiz and ZE. Only one vowel, not so good. And I have an S, so... Well, I have swizz, but that doesn't get tripled. Do I have an IH play? Unlikely. I have wins and winsed in column 10. The Z only scores 10, but the W will get tripled. And it will sort the rack out. Now, what about a ZI play, getting the Z doubled twice? I have Zin. Interesting. Rack leave pretty grim, except W and H have some synergy. But certainly the score is good. Now, what I could do in that spot... Wow, nice bingo for opponent, 97 points. And if I hadn't played equip, he would simply have had that play lower down. So what I was thinking of was doing this for 42 points, getting rid of the W with the Z. Is this the right play? So the alternative, that was 42. That's 6 more points. Well, it's worth burning 6 points to get rid of the Z whiz for 42. And I do draw a couple of vowels, but I don't have a bingo. My opponent not out of sight, but another bingo would certainly achieve that for him. I remind myself again that wived does take an S in front, and I have one. So I don't think I have a bingo through the eye. Dishound, not good. So what I'm looking to do is to play off DU, possibly H. There's actually not terribly much I wish to retain on this rack, so a play of hound would be okay. Great, just 18 points for opponent. Now, what I do have is UH down here for 37 points, which is a big score. Is this the play? Only my S goes after I'd. Nothing goes after UH. I'm really tempted by the score. 37 points for only turning over 2 tiles when you're chasing a game is pretty handy. Definitely puts me back within a bingo's reach of opponent. And this rack leave isn't terrible. Great, I have a more balanced rack. Close to a bingo. There's still this 7-letter lane for bingos ending in S. And if I make a play in row K, or if my opponent makes a play in row K, hooking CH, then a new bingo lane will be created. Through an L, I would have Gladons, not seeing anything onto the T or the R, and I trail by 50. Now, there is an L, so I think I have Gladons in column 14, but will opponent block that? I think the only way he'll block it is a play which hooks CH, although technically there are alternative methods. I think it's unlikely that they will be his best option. Having said that, not a huge amount on offer. Maybe he'll be attracted to a column 14 short play to take out the R. Fine by me. Now, remotes, I think, takes a T. Gosh, well, that would scupper Gladons. Yeah, that would be 30 points just putting the T down. And there are still 4 T's to come. That would be incredibly irksome. If Gladons is my only bingo and it gets blocked, fantastic, opponent doesn't block it. There we go, 74 points. Now I draw the T, but I've blocked the remotest spot. I trail by 4 points. And this is a grim rack. Obviously, when you draw 7 tiles, they're 7 random tiles, and you can get anything. Well, this is definitely down at the poorer end of 7 random tiles, hopelessly unbalanced with 6 vowels, and triplicate A. Still 37 tiles in the bag. So, should I be changing? Well, not necessarily, because I can play Toa, T-O-E-A. Well, that plays in column 4. 15 points is double A-O, worth more than minus 15, as in closer to 0, and it is. So Toa, a better play. And that also plays in column 6. Opponent must be drawn to this S. And he is. Only 24 points. Fantastic. Now, can I hook CH? Is oated good? Well, even if it is, Cho isn't. Not seeing anything with an A or an E. That's a shame. Oh dear is good, but the D's in the wrong spot. Toa doesn't play in column 15. No I for Chi. What about a play through the W? So I have Awa. I trail by about 30. So let me check these positions. Toa for 15. And it's the same in column 4. I think this is a safer spot. Toa in column 4 invites a column 3 parallel play. A parallel play in column 7 is not going to get doubled. I'm going with this. Wow, more vowels, but 5 instead of 6. And the rack contains bingo-y tiles. It's just the vowel consonant balance which is problematic. And there are bingo lanes on this board. Still 2 S's to come with the wived hook. So, 14 minutes on my clock. Am I sure I don't have a 5 vowel 8 through the T? So I have the Asian ending, aeration, not seeing anything there. No, I'm not seeing an 8, although it looks close. So how to sort this rack out? Still 4 A's to come, which means a play of AIA might be worth considering. Wow, I've got Noria. Well, I think that's giving too much to my opponent. I do have an eye for Chi, but I can't play anything else. Gosh, close to Anode. So I have double A. 20 points, not bad. Keeps me with close to opponent, but look at this, so many eyes to come. That's 20 points, 13 minutes on my clock, so I've played fairly quickly. What about a play down from the W? I have Virino down from the V. This is a tricky rack to deal with. I'm not going to score very much. I think it's too good to change. Well, it has to be with double A available. What about playing Iron? The double A is much better than double I. 24 points, it's a bigger score. There's still a bingo lane in row M. My A can hook OB. I could play Orad. Let me think about that. Still 2 R's, 2 N's to come. 22 points, keeping Inia. I think I prefer the points from Iron for 24. Well, slowly getting better. Only 4 vowels now. I've gone 6, 5, and 4. I have a scoring tile in the V. So I have Varia in column 4. Wow, fantastic bingo for opponent. 66 points. There's still 15 tiles in the bag, and they certainly have some bingo potential. So this is what I'm thinking of. Varia for 27. Opponent surely tempted by the V. 27 points. I trail by 90, so I think in order to have a hope of winning, I need a decent score. But Varia blocks this S hook. So what about playing down through the A of lasagna? Opponent, if I don't, opponent's got F, J, K, and Y, and he might have an easy 40 points. Now, the trouble with this is that I'm not going to be able to split up the duplicate I, which is a shame. I can play Vara, but the R was a nice tile. 33 points. Tricky. I have trivia on my rack. £28 points. Interesting, and this is tempting because it's hugely volatile, but I trail. I'm providing 2 very useful bingo floaters in the T and the R. I'm leaving alone this hotspot whilst creating a new hotspot, so if opponent can't get good value from one of them, and I do, then I may draw close, and I'm leaving the wived hook alone. Is this the play? Well, it's the play I'm going with. Not good. I miss a lot of nice tiles. And this is a long way from a bingo, and there are very few tiles left in the bag, so I'm going to struggle to get back close to a bingo, so that hasn't worked out. And more importantly, opponent could have the J. However, if he doesn't, what can I, or what, even if he does, what can I do with these two spots? I've got fake in column 8. What about column 1? And I'm looking to play off more than one of my scoring tiles. Gosh, not seeing anything. That's a shame. Still one S to come. It's quite unusual for an S lane to remain available for pretty much the entire game. Well, it is the entire game because Weaved was my opening play. So where else are the scoring spots for the big tiles? I could play Kif. Score's pretty dismal. But the rack lead, not too bad. Just about bingo-y. Wiz doesn't take a hook. Opponent taking a while with this play. He's got 8 minutes left. I've still got 10 on my clock, so this game's been played pretty quickly. TE available for a 9-letter play. So what other options are available with this rack? And I think I'd like to get rid of F and K. Wow. Opponent, wow. Indeed. So, gosh, I wasn't expecting that. Maybe the J, maybe he didn't have the J. And maybe he's super close to a bingo and fancies his chances. But look at this, I've got a 45-point play. And before I rush into this, is there a better one? So what would a better one look like? It would retain my E. So can I get my K doubled, for example? K go. 42 points, well that's less, and the F is bingo hampering. But look at this, I only trail by 64 points. I still prefer fake. I don't like the K. And I feel that there is just about bingo potential with this rack. And if I draw the J goes well with, or better with the G and the M than the K or the F. I'm going with this. And I missed the J, so if opponent's got it, well, he probably hasn't. He only drew one tile. It would be pretty unfortunate if he drew the J. I would have monogamy through an M. Not seeing anything else. What about the T? Look at the remaining tiles. Without the J, opponent must be super close to a bingo unless he's got duplicate eyes. I trail by 18. Is there any hope for me? Opponent still has time to fish if he feels close to a bingo. But if he fishes, I'll be able to play and leave a tile in the bag. So, am I sure I don't have a bingo? What about TE? No, not seeing anything through that. What about R? No, not seeing anything there. How about the I? No. Quite a low-scoring game, both of us in the 300s. Now, opponent, just 10 points. Fantastic. He is slowing down. And he's played off 3 tiles when there were 5 in the bag. He has surely been drawing 3 tiles from a pool of 5 which contains a J. He's probably got the J, in which case he's probably not bingoing. In which case he might be fuming. He might be tilting. 6 minutes on his clock. How can I maximize the pressure? Now, NY is good. Hoi isn't. OY. Nothing goes after OB and above B. So I have Jim, 22 points. That's going to draw me to within 6. Surely I can do better than that. Well, gosh, I thought this was going to get doubled. I have Gamey, 25 points. 2 tiles in the bag. Is there definitely not a bingo through the T? Now, given that there's 2 tiles in the bag, one option is for me to play a lot of tiles and to have an out and outrun my opponent. So this is 28 points. This would draw us level. Is this gifting opponent a J spot? Well, probably if he's got Jeer, so that's not great. I would need another N for monotony. Just wondering if opponent's got a non-bingo 6-letter play ending in S, if he's got the J, which would score well. Not seeing it. I am not seeing a bunch of good plays here. I'd quite like to split up the duplicate O. It'll make it easier to go out. I'd also like to score about 30 points. Let me just go back to this spot, see what it scored. 25. Well, there are no more O's or N's to come. I'm probably drawing consonants. Opponent's likely to have had 2 vowels, possibly 3, so I could draw 2 consonants. Might go quite well with this. This is frustrating. The 7-letter lane ending in S. I'm providing nothing for opponent's J. I'm quite taken with this. Only 5 minutes on my clock. I am going with this. I draw the J. Okay, an opponent's got a great rack. He's got... what's he got through the T? Retreats, does that go? Straighter. Okay, great spot. And the final score, 364 for me, 459 for my opponent, a winning margin of 95 points. So well done to my opponent. Let's see what I missed. What a game. I don't think... I did have 1 bingo in Gladons, but that was it. So, opponent to go first, and he changed all 7. Me to play, and I played Wived, and I like that. Great rack for opponent. And he has a choice of bingos. And plays Excusal. So I trail by 30. And C12 uncurls. That was my rack. That was my move, rather. No bingo here. Opponent plays Poe. Now, Chin, J6. Interesting. Getting the Q tripled, and P and H have some synergy. So instead, I play Equip for 24. Well, Chin would have been better. It would not have stopped opponent from bingoing. And look at this. Meteors, C15. So there was an E something something S play. But opponent found something almost as good and zooms off into a 120-point lead. Zin for 48, I thought about that, then preferred Wiz to get rid of the W. So is DHNS 6 points better than DHSW? In game time, I thought it was, and I still do. Tricky to evaluate 4 consonant racks, but I'll have a go. DHSW I would say, even though the S is good and the H helps the S, the D helps it, the W is an absolute passion killer here and could drag this back to close to 0 or maybe +2. And DH and S I think is okay. I think that's okay. I think that's maybe worth 4 or 5. So actually there may not be a 6-point difference here, but these moves won't be far apart. Opponent's rack, and there's the remotest possibility, but he plays Thrid. UH, that was my play. Opponent's rack, plays of, and again remotest was available, and that would have scuppered Gladons. Fortunately, opponent did not play it, and this gave me hope. I have come back from 120 behind to just 4 behind. And opponent's got a measly 24 points, which kept my hope alive, but I was struggling with this rack. And I played Toa, one of these 15-point plays. And I think getting rid of that extra vowel definitely worth 5 points. So double AO, pretty grim, must be worth about -10, I would say. But double AO, I would say minus 17, something of that order. Opponent's rack plays Bendy, and opponent has not zoomed off into the distance, and my rack is improving. And I play Iron for 24, and that looks fine. But look at this. This really tilted the game away from me and gave opponent a good lead with only 15 tiles in the bag. And I played Trivia for 28. Ah, there was good. Maybe I would have played that. Tricky. Still quite a few vowels to come. But there does split up the duplicate I. And really these plays do 2 very different things. Trivia, massively volatile, leaves alone a super hotspot, creates a new one, whereas Ver dampens down the volatility and takes out the solitary decent hotspot. I think either option is fine when you're behind by the margin I was behind. And by either option is fine, what I mean is that I suspect that Trivia and Ver simulate fairly closely. Wow, missed bingo by opponent. He had railers and re-rails in column 3, plays Tar instead, possibly deliberate, not playing that bingo with a view to thinking that my only way to victory was a triple-triple, although I'm not sure it was, because after TA I could have bingoed and opponent not. Anyway, this is my rack. I play Fake for 45, can't see anything better. Opponent plays Willy, and here I am. I only trail by 28. I can see that opponent's got 7 of these 9 tiles. C3 Monty. Interesting. What about Monty? I thought about that. And actually that is interesting because it's taking out the T as a floater and it's taking out column 3 as a bingo lane. And opponent has hinted that he's got bingo-y tiles, so maybe taking out all of the bingo lanes was my best route to winning. Interesting. So Monty, 28 points, would have drawn us level. I would have kept AGO. I'd have drawn the J. Interesting. Could have been close. So I suspect Gamey was not the right play. I was taking out 1 bingo lane, but I wasn't taking out both. And opponent then did have, gosh, just this solitary bingo, and it's not an easy one to see, but it was enough. And opponent went on to win. So, absolutely fascinating game. I was miles behind. I drew back to almost level, then had some tricky racks to deal with, and it all came down to the final few moves. But that is so often the case in Scrabble and makes it such an absorbing game to play. So, many thanks to my opponent for a good battle. I hope you enjoyed watching that game, and I will see you next time.